and have a chat to you. One in Melbourne, one in Tasmania, and behind the scenes we've got Amanda, who's in the USA, who's looking after all of the technical gubbins and making sure that we look and sound okay and that we can all hear each other, or that's the plan. So this is our first online interactive event. What could possibly go wrong? Let's invite to the screen rather than the stage. Let's invite to the screen two actors you know very well for portraying the roles of Joan Ferguson and Vera Bennett, or also known as the Freak and Vinegar Tits. I've just said tits online. You don't have to do that. Let's welcome Pamela Rabe and Kate Atkinson. Fingers crossed. Here they come. Hey, look at that. It actually works.
Hello.
Hello.
And I've been unmuted. This is dangerous.
Unmuted in Melbourne.
Yes.
Unmuzzled in Tasmania. Hello, everyone. Hello, Kate.
Hello. Hi, John.
Hello there. This is how every conversation starts these days. People go, can you hear me? I can hear you.
I can
hear me?
Hear you.
Great, perfect. So, obviously, the first thing I'm inevitably going to ask you in the current circumstances is, how are you doing? How are you managing to keep yourselves occupied and sane in these days of isolation?
You, Kate, first.
All right. Shall I go first? Thanks, Pam. Look, I'm doing very well. I feel like I'm one of the lucky ones, really. Am I here? Am I on?
You are, yes.
Oh, I am.
Yeah.
No, look, I feel like I'm one of the lucky ones. I am very good at occupying myself in solitude, and I'm managing to stay fit and healthy and connected to people. For those people who don't know, obviously shooting shut down here in Melbourne, and so there is a deal of concern for our colleagues and crew members who may struggle during this time. But look, I am doing well. I'm an avid reader. I play the guitar very badly. I go walking every day. I'm cooking. I'm going to put on some serious weight. So look, I'm doing all right, but I'm cognizant of the fact that some people are not in such a lucky position. So it's a concerning time.
Sure is. But you're going to be such a fabulous guitar player by the end of this. I just know, Kate. And I already know that you make the most wonderful brownies. So, take it as a learning time. I have to put my glasses on because I'm just trying to read some of the things that people are saying, and it's just, I mean, you're right, John, there's people from around the world. It's extraordinary. I've just seen, hello, Berlin, hello.
Oh, yes, Berlin, Germany. Austria.
Wie geht's Ihnen heute? Guten Abend, meine Freunde. I'm in Tasmania, in the wilds of Tasmania, and as Kate said, that once this extraordinary time happened, we were shut down, and I rushed onto a plane and got into Tasmania just before they completely shut down the fortress walls. But I've just come out of 2 weeks of mandatory self-isolation. But frankly, it doesn't feel much different now, 3 days out from that, because basically, as we all, I think, are being told to do, we should stay at home, and trying to do that, trying to kind of beat this thing. But God, it's an amazing, isn't it an amazing thing? I wrote to somebody the other day saying I just feel that this numbing mix of dread and wonder, because not only is something kind of, I'm not going to use the word unprecedented because everybody uses it, but there's just something so extraordinary that that the world is going to be changed by this. And although horrific things are happening, and I'm sure for a lot of people around the world, you're all touched in different ways by this virus, I still think it's bringing out behavior that's quite beautiful. And even something like this little event where we're seeing just the ping, ping, ping of people in Brisbane, people in Malta, people in Russia, people in the UK, people in America, people in Canada. And, you know, it's just, and suddenly we're all kind of reaching out and holding hands together for a minute. So thank you, Barry, John, Vesna, Amanda, and everybody for making it happen. And thank you, Kate, for doing it with me.
So you both mentioned that production has been shut down temporarily. As you can imagine online, there's lots of rumour and speculation about what's going on. Can you clarify for us at all? Is half the season in the can already? Is that right?
Yeah, look, I think we can say this much. We were essentially filming 2 seasons back to back, whether they're broadcast, you know, as one marathon season or whether they're broken up into 2 was always, you know, a source of speculation. But my understanding is that we have one of those seasons in the can. So
I think so. I think we got shut down while it was still in post-production. Obviously, there's a lot of editing still happening, but I think there was quite a mad rush in the last days before government guidelines really made it impossible for the work to continue. There was a mad rush to try to make sure that they had the 10 episodes of season 8 filmed, if not completed and ready for delivery.
Yeah. So they all had to be, they're being edited remotely, which is a tricky business. So there's a whole, but you know, everyone is learning a whole bunch of new skills very, very quickly. So, you know, the editors and the directors are all, and the cinematographer grading, they're all doing it, you know.
Yeah, and everybody getting Zoom savvy, which I assume many of you out there are as well.
Yeah.
Maybe if you're a Zoom newbie, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks, Pam. That's me. I'm very new to this. Look, I'm amazed. I'm amazed.
Yeah, we're all getting used to Zoom. This is something I hadn't even heard of a week and a half ago. So you're right, we're all learning new skills all the time.
There's a story that there was a thing on the news just before, sorry to interrupt you, John, but there was a thing on the news the other day saying that the shares in Zoom have just gone through the roof. But the problem is that there are actually 2 companies called Zoom, one of which is a defunct Chinese company or something like that, that does, I don't know, street signs. And its share price has gone from 1 cent like up to like as well, because there's all these people investing in the wrong company. Anyway, sorry, over to you, John.
Wow.
Well, all I was going to say is I'm going to go to my list of questions that have been sent in. I'm going to start with a question that 2 people have asked, actually. Bex and Alex over in Sweden have asked, Pam, did you always know that Joan would be returning?
No.
Is that Thank you very much. Thank you.
Sorry, Bex.
So
questions. We're gonna get through a lot.
Yeah, we will do. So
no, all I knew, in fact, I'm sure people are bored by us saying this, but even though at the beginning sometimes of a season, the producers and the writers will have what they call ARC meeting with us as performers to give us a general sense of where the storylines are going. I, for one, never seem to remember what they said, just usually too excited to be back at work. But having said that, even so, very often there will be elements of the story that always come as a complete surprise. It's not till the scripts come out. And sometimes, even when the scripts do come out, there'll be something hidden from us. For instance, the end of season, am I right in this, Kate, at the end of season 5, we knew somebody was not going to survive, but we didn't know who it was. They were keeping the whole B. Smith.
That was end of season 4.
That was 4. That's right.
Yeah,
we didn't know.
We didn't know the B. We didn't know about B's death.
And there might have been other little elements as well that were very much kept under wraps. I didn't know that Joan Ferguson was going to get buried alive in a box until quite late in the piece. And I assumed that was her farewell. And it wasn't until, this is no secret, is it, that Foxtel and Fremantle, who are the producing partners in making this series, had decided that at the end of season 7, that was going to be the last season. And so it was completely filmed and completed with that understanding. And then suddenly a lot of things, whether it was outcry from fans, a few, whatever, they changed their mind and gave the green light to go ahead with the final 20 episodes. And it wasn't until that was well and truly given the green light that somewhere down the track, I got a phone call very quietly being asked whether I was available to come and get out of the box again. So, and that was that was the scene that you see at the end of 7, where the gorgeous Leah Purcell is sent off to go into witness protection, and then passes Joan Ferguson around a burning oil drum. That was shot very, very late at night, well after all the other filming for season 7 had been completed. And I don't even think my name was on the call sheet. They had some pseudonym, some AKA. It was all very secret squirrel.
And all the other people around the fire, the 44-gallon drum, were crew members. So there were no extras. They were writers and crew members. No one knew that was the final shot.
Thank you. I've just noticed that Bex, who asked that question, has just thanked us for asking it on the chat, which is very nice. Hi, Bex.
Thanks.
I'll go to a question from Naomi. It's a nice little question. She just asks, how does it feel to be working together again?
Oh, who's going to gush first? I'll gush first. Oh, look, it was just one of the most. It's just one of the most tremendous things the writers could have done for me. Oh, look, it's so special, and I can't say too much, but they've set us a few challenges. And look, I adore working with Pam. She knows that, and so it's a real treat. It's it's a real treat. Look, the whole cast, that whole ensemble, I think is stronger than it's ever been. It's just a terrific team. But Pam and the Joan Vera story is very, very special to me. So I'm delighted.
Me too. It's great, I went into a kind of I stayed busy, but I went into a kind of withdrawal when I thought I was saying goodbye to my Wentworth family. So to be able to come back in and be welcomed back into the family is great. And Kate's right, actually, that it's the ensemble is as strong, if not stronger, than it's ever been. And there's several new characters going to be introduced to audiences in this coming season. Zoe Tarakis being one of those, Kate Box and Vivian Jane Hall, and then lots of people that you know well and have grown to love and or hate, or both.
Okay, I'm going to ask this next question because I really like the name of the person that asked it. This is from Destiny White. What a fantastic name! It's like a Bond girl, Destiny White. Destiny would like to know, how do you relate and differ from the characters that you play on screen? What similarities do you share with Joan and Vera?
Look, Vera has, and I'm sure Joan does as well, but Vera has metamorphosed over the course of 8 seasons. So there are, I look back at the Vera of season 1 and think, I really just did pull a character out of, well, I didn't pull her out of nowhere, I pulled her off the page, but there wasn't a good deal of Vera that I could relate to at the beginning, apart from, maybe a strong work ethic, but I certainly couldn't, appropriate, the being, at the hands of an oppressive mother, or being quite so innocuous at work. She was a tricky character, and kind of the delight of playing Vera at that point was really reveling in being probably the least heroic character on the show. The person who is crushed. She's not behind bars, but she's crushed in another way. And then of course she's graduated over the course of 8 seasons. Look, we live in very, very different worlds. And I guess you do storyline by storyline and scene by scene. I find moments and emotions and, you know, I hate to sound like an actor wanker, but just objectives and motivations that of course I can relate to, wanting something or finding ways of getting what I want. Of course I can find those in me. But Vera and I are very different.
Yeah, I would say that's true.
I would hope so. I would say. I hope you're very different from Joan Ferguson, Pamela.
I'm probably closer to Joan Ferguson than Kate is to Vera, really. Although I mean, this is an interesting exercise. You probably should get the one person to say what the other person, you know, what they share with,
Yeah.
with the.
Oh yeah.
But I think, because I do think that strong work ethic thing is something that Kate has. I mean, she's extraordinarily organised and always looking to kind of mediate and be a voice of common sense. And I think amongst us as a work family, and I think that's something that Vera also shares in her kind of work environment. But you're right, Kate. I mean, the circumstances and the environments are so utterly different from the way we live our lives, and thank goodness. But it's also what releases us to play, which doesn't stop us from stealing and borrowing from some of our own, particularly with me, mannerisms and things. I mean, I think that when they introduced Joan Ferguson into the Wentworth stories, there was a small little thing about using some hand sanitizer or being slightly reluctant to shake hands with somebody that has kind of blossomed into a whole kind of germ phobia. There's a storyline. No, never mind. You know, and that's built also on my slight OCD kind of anal retentive quality as a human being. But other than that, I don't know. I'm always really interested in it being a tall, dark-haired, well, going grey woman. That all my life I've been often treated as if I am kind of a figure of authority, just because people literally look up to me, have to look up. Most people have to look up. And so the whole notion of how people kind of live and wear their authority and power has always been very interesting to me. So it's something that I kind of, that I think Joan kind of plays around with all the time too, particularly as she gets on the other side of the bars.
Did the two of you go back to the source material at all? Because obviously, behind me we've got Prisoner, the original series. How much attention did you pay to Fiona Spence and Maggie Kirkpatrick's portrayals of the roles?
I didn't at all. I didn't have a relationship with Prisoner. I wasn't allowed to. It was called Prisoner here in Australia, Cell Block H in some places. I wasn't allowed to watch it as a child. And look, I snatched enough, you know, glances of it that I knew how iconic the show was. I knew when they kind of reincarnated it as Wentworth, I knew all the characters' names. I knew there was a Liz Birdsworth. I knew there was a B. Smith. I knew there was a... but, you know, the idea of rebooting a season, a show, which is kind of a bit commonplace now, it was unusual back then. And I remember speaking to the setup director and, you know, the whole conversation was not about... you know, it wasn't a prequel, it wasn't a sequel, it wasn't a tribute. It was a whole reimagining. It was a whole 21st century twist on this old show. And so when I picked up the script and was asked to audition for the role of Vera, aka Vinegar Tits, I was delighted. I thought I never get to play the, you know, the cruel, you know, authoritarian character. And of course I picked up the script and she was the absolute opposite. She was the complete reverse. And the intrigue of the show was, well, how does this mouse of a woman become Vinegar Tits? So Fiona's portrayal, as, you know, amazing as it was, wasn't wasn't necessarily a good launching pad for me. And I think we were all trying to collaborate with, there are lots of very potent kind of tips of the hat to the original show, but we were all very keen to collaborate on this whole new creature. And that was kind of how I approached Vera.
I think it's slightly different from you, isn't it? I mean, I would say, Kate, that probably Wentworth's Joan Ferguson tips her hat or gloves or whatever it is closer to Maggie Kirkpatrick's creation than maybe any other character. But I would like to think that she's her own. She's a very different kind of incarnation of that character, because it's a different world that she's living in, and it's a different actor who's performing it. Like you, Kate, I never watched the original series, partly because when it was first on, I was still in Canada. I think it showed up on late night television a little bit, and then by the time I came to Australia, I was working pretty solidly in the theatre. First I was pulling beers in a pub, but both of them have the same hours basically, which meant that it was previous year. I couldn't record it. But somehow you just absorbed it by osmosis, its iconic nature. So I knew it was. I knew who these characters, like Kate said, I knew who they were. I then started working with a lot of those actresses, and I worked with Maggie a number of times, and I could see the adoration that the public had for them and the characters that they created too. So you're aware of it. It's there. It's in the case. But I can't say that I ever certainly didn't feel I wanted to go back and look at it for homework. I just trusted that whatever I'd absorbed would be enough, and now we were setting off and creating something new. So I was going to respond to what writers were providing and what my fellow actors were and collaborators were throwing at it.
I think that it's about time we invited someone from the audience to come and join us live to ask a question.
Come on in.
The way this is going to work, this bit's slightly complicated. Let's fingers crossed that it works. What you need to do, if you look down at the bottom of your screen, audience members, there is a little symbol for a hand. So put your hand up, and Amanda, who is sat in the USA, will select someone randomly to come in on the screen. You will be momentarily logged out, don't worry, and you'll see a symbol saying rejoin, which you may have to accept. And then don't forget to... Oh, we have somebody coming in already. Charlotte, if you click the blue unmute button. Hello.
Hi. Can you all hear me?
Yeah. It works. It works.
Yay!
Hi, Charlotte.
Hello. Hello from England. So not very far from John, actually. Hi. How are you two ladies? Oh my goodness.
Where are you from? Where are you now, Charlotte?
In England, in Frome.
Oh, hello.
Hello. My goodness me. So you kind of touched on my question already, Kate. But you can hear me, all right? Can you?
Yes.
That is all coming through. Okay, cool. But did you two really, when you first started on the show, did you have any idea of the arcs that your characters would go through in terms of their life journeys? Because obviously Vera, what a turnaround from season 1 to season 7. What? That had to be a bit of a shock. I mean, how did you two ladies feel about the character arcs that you go through?
Look, we have this amazing team of writers, and they dig themselves into narrative holes, and they throw us into these ridiculous challenges, and they revel in trying to, twist it and get us out and throw us back in, and we kind of come to expect that.
I think all writers do.
Yeah. So look, no, there's absolutely no way I could have foreseen that the journey that Vera's gone through, there's absolutely no way I would have known that. Look, we didn't even know if this show would have more than one season. It was such an experiment at the time, and it was playing on a subscription television station, which is, you know, was an unusual thing here in Australia. So for it to get, you know, such popularity so quickly, and, you know, but they've never run out of material, and
thank goodness.
I knew that there was going to be I knew that she was going to become Vinegar Titson, but I didn't know how that was going to happen and what the trigger was going to be and where that would propel her. And then, of course, she, you know, fell into the toxic web of Joan Ferguson, and that, you know, she was still very impressionable, and that turned her into something else. And then she came out of that, and she's, you know, endured the likes of Jake, and, you know, and so everything that she's done and turned into, you know, has all come off that page, and I've just responded to everything they've given me to interpret.
I would say too, wouldn't you, Kate, that they, I mean, I marvel at Marcia Gardner and the whole team of writers that work on this show.
They're amazing. The material they give out to you guys, and you to perform it beautifully.
And I think, thank you, Charlotte, but I think they also have a strong sense. I mean, they never know whether it's going to go on beyond a certain, sometimes there'll be a commitment to a chunk, a season or two, but still I feel that they are always plotting it as if the story will reach the kind of completion that they want. And so I suspect that ever since the first episode of season 1, there have been certain hopes that they've had about where character stories would go, or where the overall story of Wentworth Prison would go. But that within that, there's a lot of improvisation, there's a lot of responding to the talent that's in front of them. And I think that some of the extraordinary journey that Vera Bennett goes on is really due to Kate's ability as an actress, and that they realize that this will be, they get excited by the idea that they're going to see this actor tackling this thing. Not so much that it kind of necessarily will pervert the whole the grand arc, but that I'm sure a lot of the little things that happen along the way, whether it was B. Smith or whether it was, you know, Kaz or anybody, a lot. It's a combination of those two things: an overall grand design, and then a sort of a much more
micro,
micro, almost kind of like chemical kind of response to what's on a kind of macro level, the skills of the people that are involved.
Well, thanks very much for your question, Charlotte. That was brilliant. You've set the bar high, and I'm just
I don't know about that.
Well, I'm just reading the comments in the chat of people loving your question. Wendy has said that she would just freeze if she came on the screen. Well, someone said, called Lily, said she just burst into tears. So you've done really well.
Thankfully, having met Pamela once before, I think I've already gotten through that freeze stage already. Having met you back at Wentworth Con in June, so I think I've already passed that. Especially seeing as I do a lot of singing anyway, so I kind of have a little bit of a. I just jump into things, really.
Well,
I think you've got the thing down. You can start your own chat show, Charlotte. That's good.
Right. Oh, Charlotte's gone, but should we bring in another question from the audience? So again, get your screens, hit the hand up symbol, and Amanda will select someone to bring through.
Where is it?
You can carry along. And can I just say for the record, by the way, I don't normally have a shrine to Wentworth the Prisoner behind.
Yes, you do, John.
No,
yes,
no, I don't. It's especially my special background. So we have Gemma coming up. So Gemma is about to appear on the screen.
Can you see me?
I can hear you.
Hello.
And there she is. In a very pink hat.
Pretty good.
Hello, everybody. Oh, I can't believe it. I'm such a big fan of Wentworth. And me and my friend Julie absolutely love it. and we do a freak dance. When we were so excited about the freak, we did a freak dance, and we were so excited. Could you say hello to my friend Julie and my friend Dion? That would be amazing.
Hello, Julie and Dion, but I want to see the freak dance. Come on.
Yeah.
Oh, she's back! I can't believe I'm talking to you. I'm just sorry. This has made my day.
Gemma, where are you?
I'm in Bournemouth in the UK, so I'm very near the beach, but I can't get there, which is very sad.
Oh, of course not.
But
I think I did that dance when Pamela came back to the show.
you did the what? The dance?
I think I did that dance as well.
Amazing. And I work at a special needs school, and me and my friend, we used to, did you see it? Did you see it in the playground and do the little freak dance? So, bit silly.
Are you still, is the school still open, Gemma?
It's open, but only for very few amount of children, and I'm on a rota, so I'm going in. But yeah, so I'm going in when I can, but not at the moment, which is a bit sad for all our kids. But never mind. Hello, Linwood.
Can I just interrupt there and just do a little shout out to everybody who's been stood down for whatever reason, can't get to work or pull in a paycheck at this time. We send our love and our very best wishes,
Absolutely.
to you. Know that we're thinking of you, particularly if you're in the healthcare sector. Although I imagine
definitely
you're very busy at the moment. But our hearts are with you and thank you for all you do. Sorry to interrupt, Gemma.
So, okay. Gemma, do you have a question for our guests?
I just wanted to ask Pamela, really, and Kate, what is the worst thing that you've had to act out, really? Because obviously, especially with the freak, she's done quite a lot of horrible things. So I just wondered, what was the hardest thing that you've ever had to do?
Ooh. Well, everything's hard, but then I kind of like it when it's hard too. So it's difficult. Like, I mean, I still, there was an extraordinary day, and I have said this before, and I may even have said it, and you've heard it, Gemma, but that there was an extraordinary day that was centered around the filming, I think, of episode 11 in season 5, which was when they kind of lynched Joan Ferguson and tried to hang her off.
Oh, that was horrible, yeah.
It was extraordinary. I mean, it was difficult, but I also found it one of the most exhilarating and kind of moving days of my work on the series, because even though I don't think it looks like it, it's we're always up against it in terms of time and budgets and money, and to see everybody always works incredibly hard, but they really pulled out of the barrel that day. It was everybody was working absolutely at the top of their game. We couldn't have done it if it hadn't been the case, and so it was not only one of the hardest things. It was also one of the most wonderful things. Yeah,
for sure.
That scene is also real testament to the extras on our show, because I think it took 2 days, didn't it, Pam? I know there was a real full day, but the extras had to be in that yard all day as well, and their background, but they're not. They had to respond to this really traumatic thing that we spent all day doing, and just in response to Pam saying that, it's kind of collegiate energy during the course of that day. The extras were a really big part of that, because they had to do a lot of acting that day.
Absolutely, yeah. It's not the usual thing you do every day.
No.
I have to say, though, that one of the most difficult things to do, and anybody who's ever done any kind of work like we do, is the dining room scenes. How to eat food without really eating it. Because if you commit really strongly to eating the food, you will probably have to do it non-stop for the next 8 hours straight. So it's a little something to watch out for, how people build in little character traits about how the way they just play with their bread roll, or that eating, that is one of the hardest skills to kind of pull off to make it look credible,
Yes.
commit, and yet still not kill yourself.
Yeah. But it's
Right.
amazing, and I'm so pleased that you came back, Joan. We were so excited, we couldn't believe it. It was amazing.
Right.
Such a surprise. And yes, very excited to see what happens next.
Me too. Thanks. Thanks,
Indeed.
Gemma.
Thank you,
Great
Gemma.
act. Keep the freak dance going.
It's going to be the next internet sensation. Right, I think we've got time for one more question from the audience. So again, hit that buzzer. I feel like I'm on a quiz show. Hit the hands up signal. And
Hello.
Nancy, hello. Oh, hello.
Hello. How are you? So press OK.
Yeah, we can see.
There we go.
Oh my goodness. Hey everybody.
There
Hello.
you are. Hello.
Hey Kate. How are
Hello.
you?
I'm so
You
well.
Hello,
I'm
Nancy.
so glad. Hey Pam. This is marvelous. Good morning from Birmingham, Alabama in the US. And
Wow.
thank you so much for being here. I wanted to ask both of you, I know no one likes to think about post-Wentworth, because I certainly don't, but do you think you would ever be inclined to do something we could see here without having to wait for it on Netflix? I mean, movies. I know that Pam does a lot of documentaries, but it would be great if we didn't have to wait so long, because we are such huge fans of both of you, and I feel really great that I'm getting ready. I can look at you and talk to you. That's just made my day.
Oh,
The dog is even excited. Ellie, go sit down. So anyway,
everyone see the dog. Bring the dog on.
Alice.
she just left. Hey, Pamela, it is good to see you. Good to see you.
Great to
So-
see you, Nancy. Kate is much busier on screen than I ever have been. Kate, there must be a number of shows that you've done that are available now on different channels in the States.
Maybe Jack Irish, if you're a fan of Guy Pearce. I don't know how well that did internationally, but actually, Pam, I mean, I've spent 8 years doing Wentworth, so a lot of my screen work is quite old now. So between
This would be
Well-
a future thing. Yeah.
a future thing.
In the future, do you think you might be inclined to do some movies for us, some shows for us? It would be fabulous.
Well, we certainly have the inclination. It's whether anyone wants to employ us, and what state of health the industry will be in after we get through this
True.
shutdown, which has been very punishing for our industry. But of course, we would love to. We would absolutely love to, or to a theatre, like be live on stage. That'd be
Absolutely.
great. But look,
That would be
nothing
fabulous.
in the planning. But look, you know, we spend most of our lives as entertainment folk not really knowing much and not being able to plan too far into the future. But it's nice to know the invitation's there.
If it were up to me, you'd be here. Awesome. Awesome.
I'm just hoping that we have. I think the way it's so interesting. People have said this. I'm not saying anything new, but that in this extraordinary time, and so many of us are having to stay at home, or feeling scared or confused or fearful, would that we turn to the arts to console ourselves, whether it's listening to music or reading a book or watching a movie or watching Netflix or whatever it is. And I mean, you can't underestimate the impact that this whole thing is having globally on the people who create those works, particularly the collaborative arts like screen, film, theatre, television. So I'm hoping that at the end of all this, that we're in a robust enough state that we can meet what I think is going to be a need and a desire for everybody to come together and give each other a big hug and just share our experiences and our stories with each other on the other side of this thing. And if we could do it in Birmingham, Alabama, I would be there in a shot.
Well, shucks, I love it. I thank you so much for coming on here, both of you, to do this for us, because we are huge fans. I'm a member of your Right Red Hand. I just can't find my pen. So,
Hail, friend.
It's good to see you guys.
Hello to the whole Red Right Hand.
Right, thank you. Well, that's perfectly leads to what I was about to ask you to do, because we're in the last 5 minutes of this online chat. I know it's gone so quickly, but I gather, as well as the Red Right Hand, there are other shout outs that you've been asked to do as well.
Yeah. Yes. Do we have to sing? No, I won't sing.
I think,
but I would.
Let's sing.
Right, well, happy birthday to Laura Whitaker, somewhere in the UK, and Marcus Wells, somewhere in Canada. I believe it's your birthday today. Hope that's right. Birthday to you.
Well, that went brilliantly.
Happy birthday, Laura and
Marcus. Happy birthday to you. I think there's a delay. I'm just a very bad singer. But there are some other birthdays. I don't know if they're tomorrow or just slightly in the future. Jamie Bell, also in the UK, and Grace Villarreal, somewhere in the US. So anyone who's having a birthday, hope you have a gorgeous time, however you spend it, alone or isolated, or just try and connect with someone and have a little dance anyway. Feels good.
Yes.
I think
had a birthday, who has a birthday today, who has a birthday tomorrow, or even the next month, like me. Or, Kate, when's your birthday?
Not till June, mate. Hopefully we'll be out of here by then, but you know.
Having a party.
June. Yeah.
Happy birthday. Yes. Yes.
What's really lovely, I'm just looking at the chat. Everyone is now wishing each other happy birthdays, and I think Marcus has just come online and got very excited.
Oh, Marcus!
It's become a real social event, as it should be.
I hope you're having a really great birthday there, bro.
So, I can't believe we are pretty much at the end. So I've just got one last question to finish off with. And I've been inspired by some videos that a new cast member, Zoe Tarakis, has been posting on Facebook. While she's in isolation, she's been filming various videos and songs, but she started off with the Cell Block Tango from Chicago. And it just got me wondering, what musical number do you think would be suitable for Joan Ferguson and for Vera Bennett?
Pam? I know what Vera's is.
What's that?
I know what Vera's is because we often sing it on set. It would be, you know, the version of All By Myself that Bridget Jones sings at the beginning of Bridget Jones. I can just imagine Vera Bennett in her bedroom as a teenager, well into her middle-aged, singing All By Myself. The crew often sing it to me because I so often get left alone in rooms or in corridors on my own, dealing with shit on my own. So yeah, that would be Vera's.
Oh, I need some help. Help me, Katie. What would be my number?
Freak out?
Oh yes. Oh yes. Freak out. Yeah.
What's that song that they sing in Annie, the Miss Hannigan song?
Little girls. Well, that's just that after the show finishes and Joan Ferguson's on the road, that's what she'll be doing, a touring production of Annie. I'm sure she will. That's a good question though, but I can't think. Let me see.
Well,
Crazy's good.
Oh, please release. Yes.
Oh, perfect. We have, I'm afraid, reached the end of this first online interactive Screen Star event. I hope it's the first of many to come. And,
yes.
And further down the line, when life returns to normality, we hope to see you here in the UK very soon. What's the cat's name, by the way?
This is Phoebe.
She's so big already.
She is. She's got so big. And Phoebe would like to send a little shout out to Teresa and Amy and everybody, the red right hand, wouldn't you? With her little silver right hand.
Oh,
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank
today.
you. And I
It's
hope
been a pleasure.
many online gatherings to celebrate whatever you want to celebrate. But at the moment, if it's the first one, we're the first cab off the rank for Wentworth, and I hope you will open your Zooms and doors and arms for all the rest of the cast if they come on, and you know, I'm sure they'll be better than us, but I've had fun. Have you had fun yet?
can I just echo what Pam said earlier? If there's anyone on this this chat who's been with us tonight, if you are working in the healthcare centre in any country in the world, thank you. Just thank you.
Indeed. Well, wherever you've been watching in the world, even though we won't be able to hear you, I think you should stand up and give these ladies a round of applause, or at very least do a freak dance.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Get up and do a freak dance.
Yeah, get up and do a freak dance. Thank you very much, and we'll see you again soon. Take care.
So lovely to share this time with you all.
See you. Thanks, everybody.
Okay.